Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It is wonderful to see all of your faces and to see you here today. It's always amazing when we start service. There's just a few faces, and in the next 10 minutes, like 25 people are going to come in the back door. So it always makes me laugh. And welcome to those of you who are watching online anytime during your week that you're joining us and taking that time to be here. We're grateful for that as well. So my name is Joan James. I'm a licensed practitioner here at CSL Minneapolis, and I am glad to be here. I'm glad that to welcome Reverend Joanne, who will be speaking today, and Judy, who will be our musician today. So it's a wonderful time. And we have a statement of truth at our center, and that statement is there is a power for good in the universe greater than we are, and you can consciously use it. And our mission is to teach, demonstrate, and inspire a positive spiritual approach to living, which is what we do on a daily basis here at the center. I'd encourage you, if you have your cell phone with you, to put it on mute or turn it down. I just left mine in the car because it rings in my hearing aids, and then I can't hear anything for like 40 seconds. So, yes, and now we're going to open with a song from Judy.
Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I laid my burdens down. Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I laid my burdens down. I feel better, so much better, since I laid my burdens down. I feel better, so much better, since I laid my burdens down. I see heaven all around me, since I laid my burdens down. I see heaven all around me, since I've laid my burdens down. Sing it. Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I laid my burdens down. Yeah. Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I laid my burdens down, since I laid my burdens down. One more time, since I laid my burdens down.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Lay those burdens down. Right? Excellent. Well, I'd like you to take a moment to be here. Take a moment to be in your chair. Take a moment to show up. Take a moment to breathe. Take a moment to calm. And know that as we're here today, as we're centered today, as we lay our burdens down in this moment in time, we are welcome. We are welcome here. We are embraced. We are loved. This is a spiritual place. This is where your spirit comes to be in communion with others. This is where your spirit shows up and witnesses the love and the joy and the peace and the balance and the order of this world, where it shows up and it lays those burdens down. It lays them down. It lets them go. This is the space to be here. This is the space to be present. This is the space to be in community with those you love. This is the space to be truly who you are. And so it is. We have a group reading that we do, and there it is. This is something that we read together and proclaim in our daily life. I am ready to deepen my conviction in the power and presence for good. I am ready to apply it in my daily life. I am ready to receive God's highest blessings. I am ready to live life from a higher level of beingness. I am ready to be a transformative light in the world. I love that last line. I'm ready to be a transformative light in the world. How do I do that? I show up here. Reminds me every week of what my power in this world is to transform those around me. And now we're going to honor our faith traditions. If I could have Annette come on up. This center is based on the knowledge that there is one great universal presence. And we acknowledge that there are multiple names and paths to this one which unifies us, not divides us. Please join me as we honor the unifying nature of spiritual thought and experiences as we light the flames of faith, acknowledging all people and all faiths with representation of a few of the more traditional paths. We light the candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. And we light the candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. And I invite you now to take a moment and acknowledge the flame within, honoring oneness and mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. Thank you. And now we have an inspirational reading, and that is being done by Colleen. And I heard it all the way here, so it's a good reading.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So today's reading is from an article that's reflecting on the book that we've been using this month, The Go-Giver. The key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. It's pretty simple. Let other people do nice things for you. Anything from a gift to an act of service to an introduction or a compliment. When somebody does something nice and we generously accept it, we embrace the law of receptivity. But often a giving spirit is also accompanied by a closed-off mindset to receiving. Yet, as Berg and Mann tell us, the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. And I can't begin to tell you the countless number of people who've said to me something like this: I don't like compliments. They make me uncomfortable. No, it's not necessary to help me. I got this. I can do it on my own. Or it may be a flat-out rejection of receptivity by people who give, but will not receive in return. A common reaction to receiving a compliment is too often a painful display of obvious discomfort and saying it is not necessary or the receiver is not deserving. But in trying to push away the discomfort, it takes away the value from both the giver and the receiver that it was intended with the compliment. And I have to wonder if the rejection in some way fuels a sense of unworthiness by refusing to receive. If you're uncomfortable with a compliment or an act of kindness, practice just smiling and saying thank you. Nothing more complicated is needed beyond that. Don't explain it away. Don't downplay your part. Don't offer self-deprecating humor. Just accept the kindness of another person. In doing so, you've given someone the opportunity to express their appreciation. You've given them a gift in return. In The Go-Giver, our character Joe explains his recognition of this law. all the giving in the world won't bring success, won't create the results you want, unless you also make yourself willing and able to receive in like measure. Because if you don't let yourself receive, you're refusing the gifts of others and you shut down the flow. I didn't know it as the law of receptivity until I read The Go-Giver, but I have always struggled with this rejection of kindness. I'm very open with my appreciation, and I've received a lot of refusals and brush-offs of my compliments and offers to help. And unfortunately, I've developed some poor behaviors of not wanting to give because too often giving has equaled rejection. I hope that a little attention on this can help our masses of selfless givers become a little more open to selfless receiving. The appreciation of a little kindness is a gift in itself.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. That was wonderful. And now we will have another song.
No complaints and no regrets. I still believe in chasing dreams and placing bets. But I have learned that all you give is all you get. So give it all you got. I had my share and drank my fill. And even though I'm satisfied, I am hungry still to see what's down another road beyond the hill and do it all again. So here's to life and all the joy it brings. Here's to life, to dreamers and their dreams. Funny how the time just flies, how one can go from warm hellos to sad goodbyes and leave you with those memories you've memorized to keep your winters warm. For there's no yes in yesterday, and who knows what tomorrow brings or takes away. As long as I'm still in this game, I wanna play for laughs, for life, for love. So here's to life and every joy it brings. Here's to life, to dreamers and their dreams. May all your storms be weathered, and all that's good get better. Here's to life, here's to love, here's to you. May all your storms be weathered, and all that's good get better. Here's to life, here's to love, here's to you.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. And now I'd like to welcome Reverend Joanne up for today's message.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Colleen. Some of us went to hear Judy and Claire and a couple guys playing at Unity a week ago Thursday, and that was really fun to hear them just have at it for a couple hours. So that was really great. So this month we've been talking about this book, The Go-Giver, and 5 laws of stratospheric success. So pretty powerful and kind of an entertaining little book. So the idea then is to prove that we have the ability to, like that song talked about, live, love, and laugh abundantly. And that's, Spirit created us. Spirit experiences life in, through, and as us. Let's give Spirit a good ride. Let's laugh. Let's have joy. Let's be joyful. And, sometimes we just have to remind ourselves, why am I walking around with such a sad face? Life is good, and I'm not meant to be miserable and walk around in sackcloths and ashes and stuff like that. So Ernest Holmes said in the Holmes Reader on Practical Wisdom, he says, life is an eternal givingness, the offering of the cosmic self to the joy of its own fulfillment. You and I are part of that joy, and we find fulfillment only as this joy passes through us to others. Everything moves in circles. We short-circuit our own good when we refuse to pass it on. So that's Holmes. And Tony Robbins, the motivational speaker, he says, only those who have learned the power of sincere and selfless contribution experience life's deepest joy, true fulfillment. Sincere and selfless contribution. That's what gives us the joy. Tagore, Eastern philosopher, Debbie said, one thing I like, and I just said it to Joan, I like the fact that we repeat these things. If you're like me, it's important to hear them over and over again. And Tagore says, I dreamt that life was joy, I awoke and life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy. I like some of these people, like Tagore. I mean, it's a long time ago, but it seems like he's speaking to us in a language we can understand. So I just want to repeat that. This when we serve, we are opening up to Spirit to act in, as, and through us. And so when that happens, we are going to be automatically filled with joy and love and abundance, etc. So this book that we talked about, again, they talk about these 5 laws for stratospheric success. And I'm just going to review those for you. The first week we talked about the law of value, how much more you give in value than you take in payment. And then the law of compensation, how many people you can serve and how well you serve them. In the book, Joe, our hero, had to, in order for him to learn the next law, he had to implement the law that he just learned. So he learned this law of service, and he didn't really know how he was going to use this, but he goes back to the office, and this woman in the office he had just come from had given him a bag of coffee. Now this book, I love coffee. I love a good cup of coffee, and it talks a lot about coffee. And so in this book, he's given this pound of coffee to take with him. So he's in the office trying to figure out, who am I going to serve? How am I going to serve? He thinks, wait a minute. So he brews up a big pot of coffee, and he pours a cup of coffee for everybody in the office and serves them. So, you know, as we use our imagination and we open to God's guidance, we can figure out how to do these things, how to serve. So that was the law of compensation, how to serve. The law of influence. Now, this is what Debbie talked about last week. Reverend Debbie just said, there's how abundantly you place other people's interests first. You know, it's something we have to think about sometime. Can I put other people's interests before my own? And then the law of authenticity. I just love people who are authentic. You know, to me, that is the most attractive quality. People that are comfortable in their own skin. So that's the law of authenticity. And then today I'll be talking about the law of receptivity. And so, as I said, we're to start implementing these things. You know, this philosophy that we follow is not just about coming here on Sunday, getting a shot in the arm, and then going. We really kind of feel like we have a philosophy that is so practical, so pragmatic, that we live it and we can embrace it. Not just on Sundays, but this is something we really integrate into our lives. And I think I see it from people in this group that is what they do. So again, like Joe figured out how to serve, I asked Celeste, where are you, Celeste? I asked Celeste, can you share how you implemented the law of influence that Reverend Debbie talked about and the law of authenticity? And she agreed to do that. So.
Oh, thank you. I got applause before I even speak. Okay, so I'm going to start with the law of influence, this idea of abundance. And sometimes we get stuck in the really big abundance things, right? But sometimes it's just the littlest expression. And that played out for me in my building. There's a common area where there's vending machines and soda machines, you know, snacks and stuff. And I cruise through there thinking I'll find something all the time, but I always walk away, you know, and I pat myself on the back for walking away. It was a particularly hot day. I'm in that common area, and there's a woman, she's sweating profusely, and she's digging around in her purse. You know that dig where you know something's there, but you can't find it? And I made the assumption that she was going to get herself a soda, and I looked at her and I said, you know, I'm feeling really abundant today. Can I buy you a soda? And she just took a deep breath and said yes, which made me feel good that she simply accepted the gift, right? And we sat down for a moment, and I got to see this woman's whole personality transform because I bought her a soda. So it was an absolute, you know, stepping into not only is there enough, but even the little things count. The little ways we show up abundantly. Now, as for the law of authenticity, I said, wait a minute. You know, we're talking, and I'm like, nothing's coming. And she says, well, how about telling them about how you helped me get my TV put together? Well, okay, yeah, that's me showing up authentically to try to help her TV get replugged in and everything like that, mostly for projection, because I can't see being without a TV for as long as she's going to, you know. But the truth is, although I know how to do it, at this time, I'm not strong enough to crawl around and do those things. So the first thing I do is say yes to her, and then I grab my buddy Anthony. So actually, the true hero in this story is Anthony. Because he doesn't know Reverend Joanne that much, and I'm sure that we kind of equally know the same about where to plug things in, but he showed up for me authentically. Celeste, this is important to you. I'll show up and do it. So thank you for giving me the credit. But let's give some love to Anthony for showing up as my arms and partner in crime.
Well, that's a good example of how we actually use these laws. We get tools here, and the idea is to use them. So the fifth law of this stratospheric success is the law of receptivity from this book. And every giving can happen only because somebody is receiving. So even though we've talked in the four previous laws were about giving, 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 this one is about being receptive. Because as Ernest Holmes says, everything works in a circle. If we do not receive, we're going to clamp up that flow, and that is not what we're going for. I've read a couple examples about this idea of how things work together, and one of them is, and I wouldn't do this because it makes me feel uncomfortable, it's about breathing. And the idea is, you breathe in, then you tell something, okay, now exhale, and I'll count to 30. Well, you're going to run out of air long before I get to 30. That's uncomfortable for me. So, so the idea is, does that mean it's better to inhale than exhale? No, it has to work together, the flow. We breathe in, we breathe out. We call it our breath. And it is the same with giving and receiving. Giving and receiving. Two things that have to happen in order to make this successful. Ernest Holmes says it all moves in a circle. But when we were younger, didn't we hear it's better to give than to receive? I mean, that's Bible passage. And to a degree, that's true. On the other hand, sometimes we can take that too far. There are people, and Colleen was reading about this, that can give, but they're resistant to receiving. And I know people like this, I'm sure you do too. They give and they give and they give. And I'm not going to tell you about this movie I watched. Terrible movie. It's called Dogville. Don't get it. Don't watch it. Terrible movie. Nicole Kidman, she's great, but don't get it. It's just a terrible movie. And it's about her she's kind of dumped in this little town, Dogville, up in the mountains or something like that. She's hiding from bad guys. I don't know who they are. And they're kind to her. They take her in. And so she's trying to give back. And she gives, and she gives, and she gives till it's just like over the top, really. And all of a sudden, people aren't appreciating it. They're taking advantage of her in a big way. And this happens. This happens in life. Do you know people like that? They give and give and give until they finally say, why am I stuck with all this, doing all this stuff? Because you wouldn't let anybody help you. Because you always raise your hand. Yeah, I can do it, no matter how full your plate is. So at some point, I think it's important for us to think about the importance of being able to receive. And I thought that article said it very well. But some of the other things you might like to consider, perhaps you bought into this overdone idea about it's better to give than to receive, and just kind of forgot about how good it is to be able to receive, and that's doing something to keep that circulation going. Underlying beliefs of your unworthiness. Do we sometimes just think, oh, you shouldn't have, why not? You deserve some goodness. How about sometimes we get this idea, if I'm spiritual, I can't be abundant. Again, it's that I should just be walking around in sackcloth and ashes because I'm a poor, miserable sinner, so nothing good should happen to me. Some of this stuff, I know people like this. I used to be people like this, I think. And the verse, this isn't how the verse goes, but we remember it sometimes, is money is the root of all evil. It's the love of money, the root of all evil. But I think that gets overdone too. It's just like if I'm spiritual, I shouldn't be abundant. It's a false belief that we have kind of been saturated with, some of us, all of our lives. And then there's this idea about thinking about life is like a pie. Oh, if I take that piece of pie, she's not going to get a piece of pie. There's enough pie. There's enough pie. There's enough abundance to go around. So think about where in your life you might have been kind of stuck on some of this stuff that kept you maybe from being a good receiver. There's an author named T. Harv Eker. He wrote a book called The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And in this book, he talks about he's going to go camping overnight. And so he goes out, and he's kind of a rough and tumble kind of a guy. So he's got this tarp, and he attaches part of it to a tree, and then the other to the ground. So it's like a lean-to. But the idea is if it rains, he's going to be dry underneath that lean-to. And sure enough, he gets under the lean-to, and it rains, and gets up in the morning, and he and everything under the tarp is dry. But he notices that at the bottom of the tarp, all this rain has accumulated. And he just remembered, this idea that just because we don't receive something, it doesn't mean it isn't given. Somebody's going to get it. And he said, I heard this inner voice that said, nature is totally abundant, but not discriminating. When the rain falls, it has to go somewhere. If one part is dry, another part's going to be doubly wet. That's what he discovered. And that's the way it works. That's the way the universe works. And so he came up with this prayer, which I really like. He said, universe, if anybody has something great coming to them and they're not willing to receive it, send it to me. I am willing and open to receive all of your blessings. Thank you. That's the kind of attitude it would be lovely to develop in our lives. Just be willing to receive. Ernest Holmes says, the Spirit can only give us what we take. And since the taking is an act of consciousness, we must be actively aware of the presence of our desire. We must know that the gift is made even before we see it. Consciousness must receive the gift. So I think it's kind of important for us all to think about affirming and remembering to receive. And maybe a good affirmation is this: I'm a generous giver and an excellent receiver. Just something very simple to remind yourself that this is a good thing. I am open to receive all the good that the universe has for me now. Just to remind yourself, yeah, open up to that good. So these 5 laws of stratospheric success. Again, the law of value. How much more you give in value. Remember, I gave you an example of how a bunch of us ate at Namaste, the restaurant, and how I feel like we got so much value for what we paid. And it wasn't real cheap, but the value we got, the ambiance was nice, the waiters, even though we couldn't understand them because they had this very heavy Indian accent, whatever it was. And by the way, Anthony and Celeste, I don't know if I told you about the guy that came to my house. I had to have a technician come, and he too was from India, and he was just this most darling guy. And I couldn't understand him, but he was so precious. I just wanted to put him in my pocket. He had this big smile on his face from the moment he came in. And what was funny is Anthony and Celeste did all kinds of stuff. They got my Netflix working, but not the TV. And we had gone and bought a new box because that was shot, whatever kind of box it was, and a new remote. And so this guy, and Anthony wrote 2 items that I should tell the technician when he comes. Tell him this, tell him that. So I got my little note, and the guy comes in, and I said, we got a new remote and a new box, and I'm reading the note, and he's doing this with this remote. And pretty soon he says, okay, you have your TV and you have your Netflix. I mean, we're talking 45 seconds here. But then he said, but I'm not done yet, because you're not getting, I think he said maybe a strong enough signal or something like that. And he begins to go into every closet in my house. Unbelievable. I mean, I thought he was taking his life in his hands. He goes into this closet that is dangerous. You know, it's just stuff all over, digging for these cables. Where does this go? I don't know. And honestly, he opened it, and then when we got back into the room where the TV is, you could see the high definition was just so much better. So, but the value he gave, and he told me, he said, now I didn't have to do this. I'm getting paid the same whether, you know, I got that 45 seconds done on your, or if I did all this stuff with the cable, I'm getting paid. He said, so when you do the survey, give me a 10. He says, by the way, if you give me a 9, anything under a 9 is fail. Just so you know. But anyway, value. And then of course the law of compensation, how many people can you serve? And I have to just share this with you. You know, again, I'm kind of a coffee lover, and this book was not only that story, how the lady gave him, they always served him this good coffee when he went to see his mentor. But then they gave him the pound of coffee to take with him. And then, I don't want to spoil the end of the book, but the coffee ends up being a whole entity of itself, a successful venture in this book. So I wake up in the morning, woke up, and I oftentimes do this, you know, 4:30, 5 o'clock, I wake up, and I smell coffee. And it's not coming from my kitchen. And people in our building don't get up that early. Really, I mean, a lot of them don't get up that early at all. I'm thinking, what? And I've thought of this before, where does that smell? I mean, the nearest caribou is close to a mile away. Where does that smell come from? And, you know, in my fuzziness in that morning time when I woke up, I thought, what if heaven is just on the other side of the veil and they're making this really good coffee, and as people go to heaven, they get this excellent coffee all the time. I'm not sure how it works, but but it is kind of amazing to me that I wake up to that. I can smell this coffee. So value, compensation, or how will we serve, the influence, do we put other people's interests first, and the law of authenticity, just giving of yourself, like both Celeste and Anthony did, just gave them themselves. Their time, came over, crawled around on my floor, whatever. and then this law of receptivity. I don't think I was going to tell you all those stories. But I like that. I mean, waking up at 4:30 in the morning and smelling that coffee, it really is a mystery to me. So what I'd like you to do now, if you like, is just take a deep breath. Get comfortable where you are. And just know there's no other place you need to be right now. I'm going to say the spiritual mind treatment, which is an affirmative prayer. I'm going to say it in the first person like it's for me, but just know it's also for you. And I know that there's just but one power in the universe, and that power is a power of peace and love and joy and abundance, balance and order. It's a power that has the perfect solution to any perceived dilemma in my life. And I know I'm one with that power, that very power that created everything and everyone experiences life in, through, and as me, in, through, and as its creation. And even though I've sometimes bought into the overdone idea of it's better to give than to receive, even though I sometimes think you can't be spiritual and abundant at the same time. Sometimes I believe I'm unworthy. Sometimes I buy into that idea that money is the root of all evil. And even though maybe I've done some of these things sometimes, I know the truth is that I have the power within me to speak my word, because that power is within me. That very creative power that created everything is within me. And even though perhaps I haven't been a good receiver all the time in the past, I now declare I am a good receiver. I'm open to receive all the good the universe has for me. I do my part to keep all the good in circulation for the good of all. And I'm grateful that this is the way the law works. Grateful that my seed planted into consciousness, and it is done unto me as I believe. I'm grateful for that. And I release these words now to the universe, knowing it is done, and so it is.
For every time your heart has been broken, forgive when you were denied your worth or your token. Forgive, we all have our understandings, one's pleasures, another's pain. Let's open our understanding and live and let live and forgive. Forgive. Don't carry the weight of hate for another. Forgive. Take hold of your heart and open it farther. Forgive. This loving without condition, your neighbor as well as yourself, requires a constant conviction to live and let live and forgive. This loving without condition, your neighbor as well as yourself, requires a constant conviction to live and let live and forgive. Forgive.
Thank you, Reverend Joanne. Thank you, Judy. It's talking about being spiritual and abundant. Now is the time of our service for conscious giving. And this is that time where you get to choose to consciously give to those things that spiritually feed you. And we as a center get to graciously receive your gifts. We are so grateful. For those of you who give online, we are grateful. For those of you who give today, we are grateful for that as well.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
And now we have the opportunity to offer a spiritual gift to you, and that is the practice of prayer. We at the center believe that prayer changes lives. And so if you want to be joyous with someone, if you want someone to sit with you and see what you can't see, where your life needs to be, we have practitioners here at the center who are trained and licensed to pray with you, to be with you. You can approach one of us after the service is done, and we'll pray with you here. You can fill out a practitioner prayer request over in the corner, or you can fill out one online, and our practitioner corps will hear about it, and the corps will pray for you between now and next Sunday's service. The practitioners here today are myself. We have Reverend Joanne, we have Reverend Debbie, we have Jeff, we have Colleen, and Celeste in the back corner. So please feel free and approach any of us, or as I said, fill out a prayer form. Now we have announcements. One announcement is on Charlie on Tuesdays at 7 o'clock is hosting a Peace in Action Zoom call. So if you have been in a place where you've seen the world these days and don't know what to do and don't know where to go and don't know how to be, show up for this, because this is where peace begins. It begins with you. It begins with people gathering together and visioning and viewing that peace. So you can find the link for this Zoom meeting on cslminneapolis.org, and that's 7 o'clock on Tuesday. And then Reverend Debbie has a couple.
Yeah, I've got just a couple of quick ones. First off, Anthony, our ever-talented Anthony, is doing yet another display in Town Square, downtown St. Paul. And so he has kindly offered his time this Wednesday, starting at around 11 o'clock, probably until around 1, at Town Square. He is going to be there to walk us through what he has put together and share with us his thoughts and feelings behind all of that. And then we get to chat and have lunch. There's a lovely food court right there. And so I invite anyone who's interested. You can see Anthony or myself after the service. There's a flyer that you can pick up. And this is about authors. This display is about authors and banned books. So it'll be interesting to hear his take firsthand on where this creative genius provided us with what he's got showing up. So that's on Wednesday around 11, and I invite you to join us if you're available. Otherwise, the display is there until the 7th of October. Man, that's like next week. Oh my. Okay, so there's that. And then to take what Reverend Joanne and Joan have shared, the next step. There are two things. We, Helene, I don't know her name. I just know there was just some devastation happening on the East Coast, right? The hurricane. One of our sister communities in Sarasota it's basically gone. On a lot of different levels, including with the people. So I'm going to make a request to the board to have our tithe go to that location in Florida instead of to our local food bank for a period of time, like through the rest of the year. So I want to let you guys know that. And I'm kind of repeating myself from the video this week, but we are all one, right? And so my ask is for all of us to get our science of mind on. And remember that truth. Because we are all one, we all, at a certain level, feel the devastation, right? I mean, we feel it. It's part of the consciousness. And so I believe this is a great opportunity for us to serve in all of the right ways by allowing ourselves to be centered in the healing, right? Right here where we are, there is healing. And as we focus on the healing that is in process, instead of the, oh my God, I can't believe somebody's in a kayak in their living room, right? If we shift our focus to that of healing, to that of knowing that we can rise everyone up as we rise ourselves up, as we sit in love and joy and peace and healing, and we just allow that to center our beingness, then that is what we are providing into that race consciousness. That is how we can be of wonderful giving. And that's how we be transformative agents. So I invite all of us, if you can join on Tuesdays. So Tuesdays is actually truly a meditation and a prayer, and then we're done. But I invite you, and it's around peace, but I invite you to also remember that when we just in our own individual work take a breath and let that healing just let it flow and heal all the things that we need to heal for ourselves. And knowing that as we do that, we are providing that extra level that goes beyond money and helping hands and all of that. Not that that's not important, it is. But we, right here and right now, and every day, and throughout the day, we can help heal. And I just want us all to remember that and embrace it. And know that it's part of our stratospheric success, right? It's how we can serve in a whole new way. So I invite you to join us and do that in our privacy of our own homes at 7 o'clock every night. Let's just take a beat and together be that transformative agent that we have the power to be. So thank you for letting me share.
And then one last announcement. As a center, you all supported Colleen in welcoming our Ukrainian family over a year and a half ago. It was Vasil and Victoria, Seymour, their daughter, and Pixel, their dog. And then 8 months later, we welcomed her parents, Helena and Yuri. And then this June, we welcomed their friend, Irina, and her son, Platon. And then just last night, we welcomed Vasil's eldest daughter, Anastasia, who's 18. So she just arrived. So as a center, just been being supportive, we've created intense change just in the lives of these people. So I thank you for the support and the kindness that you've shown for this family and for all of their loved ones. So. All right, so we're going to have our closing. Please stay after for fellowship. We have coffee cake that Reverend Debbie graciously sliced and diced for us, and we have coffee and we have fellowship. I am going to pray us out. Reverend Joanne is going to do a blessing, and then we will have a song. So, Holy Creator, thank you for this wonderful day. Thank you for this moment in time. Thank you for this givingness that showed up today in these chairs, in these seats, in our being here together. I appreciate every smile. I appreciate every hug. I appreciate everything that I receive from this community that is CSL Minneapolis. And in this knowing, I go out into the world. I go out in the world and I be a transformative light in this world. And so it is. Reverend Joanne?
May you be at peace. May you know the beauty of your own true nature. May your heart be open. May you be healed. May you be blessed. Namaste.
Slow down, you move too fast. Got to make the morning last, just kicking down the cobblestone. Looking for fun and feeling groovy. Ba-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy. Hello, lamppost, what you knowin'? Come to watch your flowers growing. Ain't you got no rhymes for me? Do-do-do, feeling groovy. Ba-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy. I got no deeds to do, no promises to keep. I'm dappled and drowsy and ready for sleep. Let the morning top drop all its pebbles on me. Life, I love you, all is groovy. I still love that word. Ba-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy. Ba-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy. Feeling groovy. Feeling groovy.
Thank you all. Leading us?